go to Aaron Torres. Aaron Torres Sports Podcast, Fox Sports Radio on the weekends. And I think he's angry right now after the announcement from the NCAA. You can hear him back there. That's right. The penalty against Oklahoma State. AT, 1-year postseason ban, reduction of 3 Scullies for 2 years, 3-year probation, 10-year show cause for Lamont Evans. The floor is yours, AT. Have at it. What do you think?
Yeah, no, you know what I would say, guys, really quickly is this. I just went ballistic on social media, on both Twitter but also on Instagram video, and I think people are misconstruing my message. Like, I'm not saying don't punish Oklahoma State, but Oklahoma State, relatively speaking, if you look at what they were accused of and found guilty of, it's relatively tame by the standards by Louisville, Kansas, etc., are going to be judged by. And so what really just drives me insane, Phil, is very simply this, and Matt too, I hope you're both doing really well. A lot of people probably don't know this. The number 1 high school player in America is not Jalen Green, who's going to the G League. It's a kid named Cade Cunningham, who is committed to play at Oklahoma State. He is a phenomenal player. He's one of the best high school players that I've ever seen, and a guy that I was so looking forward to watching playing college basketball next year.
He was a high school teammate of Moses Moody, who's going to be with Arkansas next year at Montverde. Yeah,
that's right. So a lot of your fans are familiar with him. Okay, that makes sense. Yep, they played together in high school. And so this kid is incredible. I mean, this kid is one of the most gifted high school players I've ever seen, and I'm not exaggerating. I don't do hyperbole. And unless I'm talking about myself, then I do a lot of hyperbole. But, and I just look at this and I say, why does this kid go to college now? He was going to leave in 1 year anyway. He can go make $500,000 playing in the G League. And then you fast forward to a year from now, the top 2 picks in the draft are both going to come out of this G League program. And people are going to say, why do I need college basketball at all? And so when this happens on the heels of the James Wiseman situation last year, where you can criticize James Wiseman for leaving school, but he wanted to play college basketball, and the NCAA made it hard for him. I just don't understand this idea that we have these incredibly marketable young men. They want to be on these college campuses. They want the college experience, and we're pushing them away. Now, is Cade Cunningham 100% going to leave for the G League? I don't know. His brother is on staff. There's a possibility that he stays. But my goodness, it's embarrassing, it's annoying, it's frustrating, and it just speaks to the utter incompetence of the leadership in Indianapolis. I am so frustrated right now, guys, because I can already see the headlines. I'm obviously someone who loves college basketball, and I just don't know why, if you're a kid that is an elite high school player, why come to college and get pushed around when you can go make real money as a pro? It's so infuriating.
Yeah, and this ties in a little bit as well, maybe for differing purposes of the same story of James Wiseman at Memphis. You never really got a chance to see the kid that might have been the best player in college basketball last year as a freshman, and potentially you may end up seeing the same thing with Cade Cunningham. And what I'm hearing from you here is that you got, like, the NCAA's got to feel like they're in competition with the NBA, essentially, who owns the G League, for the best players in basketball for at least 1 year. Is that what I'm hearing from you? And then it's almost like you feel like they're ceding that to the G League and to some of these other organizations.
Well, and that's exactly it, guys. I mean, listen, if you want to make the argument that people are going to watch the NCAA tournament no matter what, I'm not going to argue with you. I'm not. People are going to bet that, especially now as sports gambling gets more and more legalized, people are going to bet that thing, and it might be in some ways bigger than it's ever been. But I'm not saying that college basketball will ever be a mainstream sport the way college football or the NFL is, but at the exact same time, you still want some kind of relevance. By the way, especially next season, when the NBA very realistically isn't going to tip off until the middle of December, if not the end of December, because of the way the season is set up. And so you have all of November and December to yourself in the middle of the week. You'll obviously never beat the NFL or college football from Thursday to Monday, but Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, that's your time for a while. And it's just, guys, it's so frustrating. This kid doesn't deserve it. This program doesn't deserve it. I will say this, as it does not pertain to Cade Cunningham, because a lot of people are mad at me right now saying, what, should we not punish him? is a really interesting setup as to what could potentially happen at Louisville, what could potentially happen at Kansas, and, of course, all the other schools involved, Auburn and SEC country, things like that.
Well, and that was the next place I was going to go with this, is the idea that if Oklahoma State is getting this kind of a penalty, but yet they were sort of lower on the totem pole as far as some of the things that allegedly happened there. So what do you think this does mean for LSU, for Arizona, for Kansas? I mean, you're going to see some harsher penalties come down, and this also goes into exactly what you came into this conversation with. It's almost a warning sign of sorts to incoming players for the next couple of years. I mean, these are top level programs you're talking about that will end up with severe penalties.
Well, and I think it raises kind of a broader, more interesting question. Is I find it weird, Phil, and you're around college athletics. I know you are too, man. I'm not saying you're not, but we have this name, image, likeness thing. So we could potentially have Kansas, Louisville, whatever. So let's take Louisville, for example. They gave a kid $100,000, or they were about to until they got caught. We could have a kid on Louisville's team making $100,000 while they're getting punished for paying a kid $100,000. It makes no sense. It makes no sense, and this is what I'm speaking about. The leadership is lacking. The vision is lacking. You guys know this. I'm not one to jump on here and, this guy's the worst and fire that guy. And the leadership from Mark Emmert is embarrassing. I've always been in favor of name, image, likeness. I just think it's going to be weird. We're going to be punishing programs when we're also going to be, rewarding the same programs for the same situation, if that makes sense.
Speaking of Aaron Torres here on Halftime, Aaron, let's transition over to the NBA and the NCAA with everything going on with that. NBA is back. They've came out with the dates for the NBA, and the NBA draft being moved back to late October. I believe it was October 15th of the NBA draft. And the NCAA, what I kind of want to ask you with this one is the NCAA deadline is 10 days before the combine or August 2nd, or 3rd, excuse me. Good move by the NCAA, you think? Because we need, from an Arkansas perspective, need to get this thing figured out for Isaiah Joe.
Yeah, I knew. As far as the draft deadline is concerned, I assumed it would be early August, and it's weird because usually it was supposed to be last week, but it's supposed to be last week, and it's just crazy to think that we might not have an idea with a lot of these rosters. By the way, I would say I was doing some SEC, preview stuff today before all this crap hit the fan, and there's a lot of programs in this conference that are still waiting on a guy. Tennessee's best player, maybe Yves Pons, is still weighing his draft stuff. LSU's best player, they have 3 players testing the draft process. John Petty at Alabama, on and on and on. And so, it couldn't have been any later because obviously, most semesters start around, Labor Day. And then realistically, I also think if we're being totally honest, we have a lot of schools now starting the process of the first semester earlier because of the fact that this coronavirus may hit. So they're starting earlier, hoping to end earlier as well. So they got to do it. Arkansas isn't the only one. And I felt like it would be about August 1st for that exact reason. But it is also going to be extended in hopes that, to give the players a chance to get in the facilities and do things of that nature.
You bring up the other schools with Alabama, Tennessee, LSU, all these players that are teams that are in limbo because they're waiting on the decisions from these guys. And I'll phrase this in an Arkansas sense, but the same question could be said for any of them. Do you think Arkansas missed out on a lot of these big transfers, like Harms that went to, or Matt Harms, Matt McClung, all these different guys because we were waiting on the Isaiah Joe decision? Because for Arkansas, that was the only open spot left. I guess I'm just curious, did Arkansas miss out on a lot of these guys because of this little delay?
Matt, let me ask you a question. Are you single? Are you a single gentleman?
Yes, I am. Single. Yes.
So when you go to the bar and you literally hit on every single female that's there, you're not going to bat 100.
You're
and
right.
That's basically what Eric Musselman has done this offseason.
You're right.
You're in the portal, we're giving you a call. Man, listen, maybe you do bat 100. I don't know. I can't speak for you. If you do, let me know. I would love to come to Fayetteville. I'm married, unfortunately, so I probably should stay away. But nobody bats 100 on this stuff. And so, no, I think in all reality, I think that They have targeted guys. And I will say, I know for a fact that, they have been all along trying to find that balance of, should we be recruiting for a roster spot that might not be open with Isaiah Joe, et cetera, et cetera. But no, I don't know that they've missed on anyone in specific. I've heard Eric Musselman say this a few times this offseason, and I think he's right. The transfer market is getting more and more competitive each and every season. I mean, even when Musk got to Nevada, it was still kind of taboo to take transfers, and now you see North Carolina last year taking 2 grad transfers. Kentucky actually has 3 transfers, at least one of them sitting out this year. And so this is the new reality in college basketball. This is how teams are recruiting and developing players. I don't know if I've said this on this show, but if this one-time transfer rule passes, I actually believe there's a very near future where many programs don't even recruit high school players at all. They just wait to see what comes on the transfer market and take the older, more experienced player that they can get eligible right away. So I hope that answers your question.
That's the greatest answer I've ever
privately.
Heard.
Yeah, what's that?
I said that was the greatest answer I've ever heard.
Yeah, I was going to say, text me privately if you're batting 100 down on Dixon Street, okay?
No, AT, I got to tell you, I don't think I've ever heard transfer recruiting described more accurately the way that you did, but it reminded me of one of my favorite moments from one of my favorite early 80s movies, Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Well, naturally something happens. I mean, you put the vibe out to 30 million chicks, something is going to happen.
That's the idea, man. That's the attitude.
Yeah, Eric Musselman, you're describing as Damone from Fast Times at Ridgemont High, putting the attitude out to everybody.
So I don't know if your station would allow it. You should clip off the question and answer, and I will post it everywhere. Because I've never been more proud of any work that I've done, and I've written 2 books. I've never been more proud of anything.
I will do that just for you as soon as we're done with this show.
Fantastic. Send it over to me. I'll put it out. Anything else, guys? What else we got? You got me all fired up now. I'm cracking jokes, da-da-da-da. So you let me know.
All right. Well, do you think the NBA – I think the NBA is going to take advantage of the idea that they're going to have their playoffs running right through October. And I think that they already wanted to start their season, or a lot of people in the NBA wanted to start their season around Christmas time. I think that's going to happen for the upcoming regular season, the next one. And I think that's when the NBA will be starting from now on. So, I mean, I think that they're taking advantage of the crisis and actually doing something that they've wanted to do. And I think that's the future of the NBA. What says you?
Yeah, no, it's really interesting because obviously the last couple months we've all had airtime to fill and we've had to get creative. And one thing that Arnie Spanier and I on Fox Sports Radio, we talk about it on almost a weekly basis, is the idea that this whole situation is going – there's certain things that we've always just kind of been like, well, that doesn't really make sense. And now is going to be the time to experiment with some of them. So the NBA starting Christmas Day is one of them. I thought the NBA might scrap the Eastern and Western Conference and just go top 16 this year. They haven't. In your world, Phil, I'll be curious, with the, potentially, if baseball comes back, we're basically going to have an East, Central, and West division and to limit travel. Does that completely eliminate pitchers hitting? I personally like pitchers hitting in one league in the DH and the AL, but I think it's just a broader thing of this crisis really is creating, forcing all these sports to try different things. Some of them will stick, and I'm with you, Phil. I think this might be one of them. We'll see.
All right, we'll leave it at that, AT. It's always fun talking.
You're the man.
We will send you that answer.
You're the man, Matt. I mean, come on. We established that in this segment. So
one of these days I'll bat 100 talking to women, but right now it's probably a good solid 0.5.
Now you deserve some credit.
Oh, okay. Well, Arkansas did better this offseason. So, all right, guys, take it easy.
See, AT gets credit for the answer, but the answer doesn't come without a question.
That's true.
You get credit for the question, SmackDown, and that was very well done. Very well done.